Hello, folks. Welcome back to another deep dive into Hyderabad's real estate market. If you're new here, I highly recommend checking out my previous videos where we've been breaking down Hyderabad's western and southern markets. We've explored key micro markets, price points, advantages, various types of communities like apartments, villas, and more recently plotted ventures. Today, we take the next step in our journey by analyzing Hyderabad's reputed builders, starting in alphabetical order. Now, firstly, why do we want to focus on builders? You've probably heard the classic phrase that the three most important things in real estate would be location, location, and location. While location is undeniably important, I don't fully agree with this outdated take. And the reason I say it's outdated, as back in the day, it was only location that mattered, and you probably would buy your plot and you have full liberty to design the home of your choice. But in today's modern world, we need a modern approach to real estate decision making that balances multiple factors. Definitely location, which is still the primary factor for most buyers. The second being project and the builder reputation. This can involve quality, credibility, execution track record for that matter. And lastly, unit plan and specification. Again, this is not new. Because even in a prime location, a poorly designed unit can be a deal breaker. Just a couple of examples to quote. Not every project in Kokapet is worth picking, despite the prime location. You can run into seepage issues, you can run into, leakage issues, bad construction quality. And at the same time, you wouldn't go into, let's say, Ibrahim Patnam, which is, somewhere far away, just because there's a great builder who's launched an amazing project, right? So at the end of the day, it's the balancing act, and I'm not saying entirely a new thing here. Most of you are already doing this, but for me, it's just making sure that you're picking up and making a decision in the space of real estate, especially in this modern world, with all of these. My personal ratio of importance, and that's how I go about price computations. This is how we sort of build some of the models as well. Is a 50% weightage to location, 30% weightage to project and builder. This involves a bunch of factors that we look into, and 20% being the unit plan and specification. Now, I said 20% despite you spending most of your time in the unit. If you look at it, it's because you also have the most flexibility with this particular aspect. You can't really influence, what happens around your neighborhood. You can't really influence how the project design happens or the amenities that you get, but you can really influence the 20%, which is the unit that you get. Well, that's enough about why focus on builders. I think it's fairly clear. It's also something that most people get, but I just wanted to lay that out. Now, in this series, we'll be covering builder by builder. We'll be covering specifically Aparna, ASBL, DSR, SSI Group, Jayberry, My Home, Myscape, Prestige, Rajapushpa, Sri Aditya, and Vamsiram. I think that's about 10 builders. While there are many more, definitely, who are capable, we are focusing on these because they have strong ongoing project pipeline, and they have a bunch of diverse offerings as well. All right, with that, as you can see on my screen, we have Aparna. We'll start off with Aparna Constructions. By no means are they a stranger to the market. One of the most well-known builders, having played a key significant role in modernizing today's gated communities that we see. Established in 1996, they've delivered, projects across different parts of the city, and particularly pioneering in the large-scale residential communities. Now, there are a few things that stand out for them, and as you can see on screen, they're a very well diversified, business company. Currently, they have about 29 active projects, or something that they've recently just handed over, and that's massive. 29 is a lot of communities and projects to manage. Based on my estimates, with some rough math, I think this totals to about 50,000 crores just in terms of the value of inventory that they hold, obviously, which they will realize over several years. From a geographic perspective, I think they're placing bets on, Tellapur or the Osman Nagar belt. Um, they're not really concentrated in one zone. They're also sort of placing bets in the northern part of Hyderabad and some core city locations. So broadly, we see them diversifying into West Hyderabad, which is where bulk of their projects are, among that 29, and then a bit of that bet into the northern belt, and then obviously the core areas, which is in this case Kajagoda, Manikonda, that sort of a belt. Coming to another data point, which is something that we also track, and I'm particularly sort of keen. In today's era, builders' digital presence is a key indicator, a strong indicator of brand strength and consumer interest. Today, the moment you sort of see an outdoor hoarding, you go into search, you go into sort of check into the builder's website itself, and I have to say, Aparna has a very strong digital presence. Among all builders in Hyderabad, this is all of the builders that hail from Hyderabad. We're not looking at Prestige, Brigade, these sort of builders. Aparna ranks second in web traffic in 2024 with approximately 1.9 million website visits per year, which is the number of visits that they get to their website. I have access to this, but essentially that's the long story short. 1.9 million is massive. That's like 19 lakh visits per year for the 29, for the pipeline of projects that they have. And this is second in market, and I was very surprised to know the first. So we'll hold on to that thought for later videos. But that is an incredible record. And for those who are a little more number savvy, just a couple of things to throw. About roughly 85 to 87% of Hyderabad-based builders and specifically Aparna receives traffic from India or domestic market, and about 10% from US and the rest from other markets, and which shows the strong presence and the interest of NRIs for Hyderabad's real estate market. Again, not a surprise, but 10% is what it is. From a benchmark perspective, I think Bangalore-based builders get about 7% of their traffic from US. All right, enough about the digital engagement. I was just really keen and got carried away into looking at some of those numbers a little more closely. Now let's look at the key bets and a few projects that might be of interest to you. The first bet is obviously the Tellapur Deccan Town, which is pretty much hit most of you. About a decade ago, they took a bet on Nallagandla, and it paid off amazingly well for them. They've transformed it from almost nothing to a thriving residential hub. So it's a true 0 to 1 transformation. Now, I believe they're looking to replicate the success in Tellapur, particularly in that Deccan Town development that they have, where they have a bunch of projects spanning across 120 plus acres. This has, upper amber bungalows, which are, these mansion houses going for about 20 plus year. There's Moonstone, Sunstone, a mall that's also coming up in this particular belt. So yes, huge bet on this particular project, and sort of makes it a township sorts. The going rate is about 8,500 to 9,500 per square feet, and it sort of varies for project to project. But in short, yes, I think everything that they've done in Nallagandla, they want to sort of do that here, is my sense. That's the first, and there's also a few others, as you might have noticed. The Cyber 4, which is a little more affordable in terms of the price point, and then Aparna Newlands is like one of that's clinging on to the other part of Tellapur. So yeah, that's in a nutshell, bunch of projects, at least the 10 out of 29 that we see within the screen. There are a few more in Nallagandla. Again, needs no introduction. There's one little more of a premium project, which is the Aparna Sarovar Tower, and then Zenith and Zycon. Zenith handed over, Zycon under construction. All right, so that's the Western Zone bet. Now let's come to the city-centric projects. Most of them are to the right of or are near Manikonda, Shakepet sort of zone. There are three projects, namely Xenon, Aqua, and One, that are closer to Hyderabad's core. Expected price point around 11,000 plus per square feet, aligning with the general market trend in the premium market segment that we see. In fact, I think Aqua goes slightly above, close to about 14,000 per square feet. And Aparna pretty much does this. They sort of try to push the right. Moving further along, the next cluster is their bet on the northern side. Let me acknowledge that I'm not fully aware of the value proposition and why they've gone this direction. Could be because of the some of the previous announcements made around the ORR exit here and a few projects that are likely to come by. But they've really gone quite heavy on this, as you can see. There are about five large scale projects uh, within the ORR. All of them are, apartment communities. Kompally typically has been a villa first market. There is a new bridge, or at least a flyover, that is going to make this belt a lot more easy to commute. There's also the defense area, and as a result, a lot of low lying buildings or low rise buildings. And these folks have, five projects here, as I mentioned. Greenscapes is a little more of their premium project, and then they have Serenity here to the right, Palmwoods, small project here, and then their Canopy, Marigold, and Yellow Bells. So yeah, a lot of inventory. The price range is actually comparatively a lot more affordable, ranging between the 5,000 per square feet to 6,500 per square feet, which I'm sure from a benchmark standpoint is still slightly more than the market price going there, but usually Aparna delivers on value. And then the final bit is all of their projects outside the ORR segment, which seems like a very clear case where they go a little further out and have their land based projects. On the northern side, there are about three, ranging from 35,000 to about 42,000. And they have the famous Western Meadows, multiple phases, and then Aparna Vasuda here, all of which you're potentially fairly familiar with. Um, and then they have this odd one project that they've recently handed over, which is Aparna Altius, which is their only project along this Rajendra Nagar belt. But from a purely company standpoint, they do offer projects across different parts of Hyderabad. I think the only area that they've not really tapped into is the east side. But compared to any other builder, they have very strong presence across different parts. Now, coming to my own perspective of strengths and challenges, again, this is based on my own experience, my very close kith and kin, family, friends. There are a lot of people who stay across multiple of these projects, primarily in Nallagandla, to be transparent, but in general, these principles hold true for most of their projects. The key highlights, first, strong construction quality, one of the most consistent builders in terms of execution, which is be it on time delivery, the kind of amenities that they sort of come up with. So that's sort of thing. The second is elevated gated community experience, large green spaces, spacious clubhouses, and strong sporting facilities as well. That's the second aspect. The third is pricing transparency. Unlike most builders in Hyderabad, I must say they maintain clarity on pricing. If you go into aparnaconstructions.com, you actually do see their price for most of their projects, like upfront, uh, with which actually is a good move for the company and for the consumer to gain trust. In terms of challenges, repetitive apartment layouts, I must say, very standardized cookie cutter designs with little innovation. About 10 years ago, there's a project that came up called Aparna Cyber Commune, Cyber Zone in the segment, which is, I think, Aparna Cyber Commune and Sarovar were their initial projects in Nallagandla. And even to date, at least in similar sized apartments in Zycon, let's say, you see similar patterns. So, very little innovation. Again, that's my opinion. They can do a lot more to deliver more value on that 20% weightage that we've seen, which is the unit layout plans. The second is higher loading factors. Again, this is not just a Aparna thing. Every builder is over time just increase their loading percentages. They've crept up quite massively, making project level specs stand out more than the individual unit experience itself. Like you'll be amazed with the kind of stuff that you get in the community when you walk down. Great, your corridor, your clubhouses, all of that is amazing. But when it comes to individual unit experience, that sort of fairly remains standard. That's the second. The third is the pricing transparency, also, which is a strength, also brings about a challenge, which is limited room for negotiation. While transparent, pricing sometimes might feel misaligned with market supply demand dynamics. That's again an individual company's call. They've been in this industry for good 25 odd years, so they have a very strong history, credibility, and as a result, they will have different pricing versus the market. All right, hopefully that helps. Few final thoughts before closing. Aparna remains one of the Hyderabad's most dominant builders. You can see that the owners have amassed a lot of net wealth. Their net worth has really cropped up. You can see that in various different reports that you see. It obviously comes with solid set of projects that they've delivered. They have projects across key growth corridors, um, especially concentrated in the Tellapur Osman Nagar belt. While they deliver well executed communities, some of the challenges do exist, especially in unit designs, pricing strategies. Do let me know your thoughts on Aparna's projects. Do you agree with these observations? Any specific other aspects that I might have missed out or you want me to comment in detail? On that aspect, I've seen a few comments come in terms of the kind of projects that you want me to cover. Absolutely taking note of those, especially commercial projects that are coming in, farm layouts that are coming in, right? So I have taken note of those, and I will definitely cover them in subsequent videos. But meanwhile, if you have very specific questions on Aparna, happy to sort of address them. Drop a comment below, and let's continue the conversation. If you found the useful, if you found the video useful, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real estate insights. And see you in the next.